Hello there, and welcome back to my I Eat, I Read, I Watch column. Today I'm eating gochujang chicken with a side of mushrooms. This healthy eating business is okay, I've decided. Sure, I miss cheese. No, I really miss cheese. But I'm having fun cooking again in a more serious way, pandemic level, if you will. The New York Times cooking emails are a great source of good and not too complicated recipes. One that came through my feed a while back involved gochujang, the Korean red chili paste that I'm very fond of, but often forget is in my fridge. I checked the label and no cholesterol. So I went and bought the two things I didn't already have on hand, skinless chicken breast, bloody boring, and a big container of cherry tomatoes. After lunch one Wednesday when I was working from home, I pulled out my slow cooker. I cut up the two chicken breasts into more or less bite-sized pieces and put that into the chamber of the cooker. Then I added 3 tablespoons gochujang, 2 tablespoons soy sauce, 1 tablespoon toasted sesame oil, and 1 tablespoon locally produced honey. I also added a big dollop of ginger garlic paste in place of the piece of ginger the recipe called for. Then I turned the slow cooker on low for 5 hours. In 10 minutes, I set myself up for a good meal and loads of leftovers. As I took my late afternoon walk on the river that day, I considered what side should go with the chicken. I had a package of oyster mushrooms and felt sure Korean cuisine would offer up something good. A quick Google when I got home and I was compiling something inspired by an online recipe. I blanched the mushrooms in boiling water for 1 minute. Weird. I've never blanched mushrooms before. I rinsed them in cold water and squeezed the excess water out. Then I mixed in 2 minced garlic cloves, a few grinds of salt and pepper, and a decent dollop of toasted sesame oil. I then cut a carrot into matchsticks and toasted some sesame seeds in a dry pan. I decided I needed a few udon noodles for under the chicken, so I got a pot of boiling water going and added the noodles, 2 servings worth, for 10 minutes. I then heated my skillet with grapeseed oil and once pretty hot, added the marinated mushrooms. I stir-fried them for 2 minutes and then added the carrot sticks and sesame seeds. After another minute of frying, I transferred them back to the bowl they'd marinated in and added a chopped scallion. By this time, my noodles were done. I drained them and plated half, topped it with chicken and tomatoes, and added a side of the mushrooms and carrots. Amazing, if I do say so myself. Prep time, 30 minutes labor, 5 hours in the cooker. Origin, Canadian chicken, tomatoes, mushrooms, carrot, honey, and scallion. The rest, well, imported with a strong preference for avoiding U.S. products. Cost, probably about $20 in total, but there's at least 4 meals there. If you have an idea for using chicken breast creatively, I'd love to hear it in the comments on my blog. So what am I reading? Well, Jessica Knoll's novel Bright Young Women is a fictionalized take on the story of Ted Bundy, the American serial killer who targeted young women in the late 1970s. Knoll takes the perspective of a student who saw the killer flee the sorority house where she lived after he'd killed her best friend and injured 2 others. Our protagonist goes on to be a witness for the prosecution, playing a part in the conviction that led to the perp's execution. I'm a little too young to remember Ted Bundy's story, but a couple of years ago Netflix put him on my radar when I watched Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Vile and Evil, a feature-length docudrama. There's a lot more you can watch about him, too, including on YouTube, where you can watch the celebration footage of Bundy's actual 1988 execution, shot outside the building where he was electrocuted. Horrific. I'm not saying what he did wasn't awful, but I'm thankful the last use of the death penalty in Canada was 4 years before I was born. Knoll's fictional story doesn't go into the execution. Instead, after the conviction, the protagonist and the partner of a previous victim work together after several decades and determine how that other victim died. I read this twisty-turny story mostly on the plane returning from the West Coast, and several times I got a little lost in the plot. But I persevered, and I would recommend it as a decent feminist take on the kind of story that typically portrays women only as victims. Have you read a novel based on a real life crime? If so, please share it in the comments on my blog. Finally, what am I watching? Well, I'm a sucker for a good British costume drama, always have been. So when I saw I could stream the 1995 film version of Jane Austen's classic Sense and Sensibility on BritBox, I couldn't wait to sink into bed to enjoy, now as I did in the cinema, the lavish costumes, the stunning Devonshire scenery, and the acting. Oh, the acting is just so good. All my favorites appear. The great Emma Thompson, whom Wiki just reminded me wrote the screenplay of this one. A 20-year-old Kate Winslet 2 years before her big breakout in Titanic. A pre-House Hugh Laurie, among countless other familiar faces and names in supporting roles. And of course the inimitable Hugh Grant, who despite all the cads he's played, including in real life, I adore. The story hits all the usual Austen notes of class and gender roles. Thompson's character has failed to wed at the astonishing advanced age of 27, and the family is on the economic downswing, making it even more imperative than usual for her to marry well. If you haven't seen or read how that works out for her, then I strongly urge you to give it a watch. And if you know the outcome but haven't basked in its lushness for a while, then watch it again. In a time when everything seems a bit messed up, it's nice to return to a time when it was messed up in very different ways. Seen anything good lately? Please add it to the comments of my blog. And thanks for watching.